Somebody usually says it first in the comments. 34 years old, watching this at midnight, lying in bed with a short list of things he meant to do today and didn't. Then the word arrives. Sometimes from him, sometimes from someone who loves him and has run out of patience. Man-child. It is a useful word the way a hammer is useful. It ends the conversation quickly. It tells you what to feel. What it does not do is tell you where the line is, which is odd because that is the only part anyone actually needs. Most of us know a man who plays games until 2 in the morning, keeps a messy room, has no 5-year plan, and is still one of the more reliable people in our lives. And most of us know someone who looks almost identical from a distance and leaves a trail that other people quietly pick up. Same hobbies, same clutter, same missing plan, different cost. So this is not a test of whether someone has grown up. It is a test of where his choices end and somebody else's unchosen responsibility begins, and why he may honestly not see the handoff. Start with the things that do not draw the line. Age does not. We have attached adulthood to a set of milestones. Marriage by this point, promotion by that one, mortgage somewhere in the middle. But milestones describe the shape of a life. They do not tell you whether the person inside it can be depended on. Ambition does not draw it either. Wanting a normal job, a small apartment, and no personal empire is not the same as refusing to contribute. Someone can look at the standard deal, decide it is not worth what it costs, and step off. That may be a decision. It may even be a good one. And childish pleasure is not the line. Games, cartoons, cereal for dinner, a shelf containing more plastic swords than tax documents. None of that tells you whether another adult has to keep your life functioning. The useful question is smaller. When you decide not to do something, what happens to the thing? Sometimes it disappears. You skip a networking event, and your career remains exactly as networked as you left it. You leave your clean clothes in a basket, and they remain your clean clothes in your basket. You spend Saturday playing a game instead of optimizing yourself into a more impressive mammal. No one else has to absorb that choice, and sometimes the thing does not disappear. The dishes become somebody else's unusable kitchen. The appointment you forgot becomes somebody else's rescheduling problem. The bill you did not track becomes somebody else's late-night calculation. You say, just tell me what to do, and the other person now has the task of doing the task or managing you through it. The cost move, that is the first line. Not low ambition, not unusual priorities, not hobbies somebody finds embarrassing. A repeated, unchosen transfer of planning, consequences, or repair onto another person. But that still leaves the harder question. How can someone be standing inside that pattern and genuinely not see it? One answer is that people do not all receive the same signal at the same time. Research on couples living together has examined what researchers call thresholds for disorder, the point at which mess or an unfinished household task becomes uncomfortable enough that someone acts. If your threshold is lower, you move first. If mine is higher, the room may not yet register to me as a problem. That difference does not make you morally superior. You became uncomfortable sooner, but repetition can turn the difference into a system. You notice first, so you act first. Because you act first, you learn where everything is, and how everything works. Because the problem keeps disappearing before it reaches my threshold, I get less practice noticing it at all. Nobody held a meeting and assigned you the role. The role settled around the person who could no longer tolerate waiting. That explains how the pattern can begin. It does not decide how the work should be divided forever. A lower threshold does not give one person the right to legislate every standard in the house. Some preferences are personal. Some mess can be negotiated away. But my standard is lower also doesn't erase shared obligations. The question is whether the standard was discussed, or whether one person's discomfort quietly became the household's entire operating system. There's another reason the transfer is easy to miss. A large part of household work can happen before anybody touches an object. Someone notices the detergent is running low, remembers the birthday is next week, checks the calendar, finds 3 options, decides which one works, follows up when nobody replies, makes sure the thing actually happened. Sociologists studying this call it cognitive labor, anticipating, identifying options, deciding, and monitoring. Physical work leaves evidence. The trash bag is gone, the floor is clean. Cognitive work often leaves a normal-looking Tuesday. That is why you should have asked, can miss the complaint completely. Asking was one of the tasks. Remembering to ask was another. Checking whether the answer became action was a third. Now add one more problem. Your own effort is easier to remember than somebody else's. You were present for every dish you washed, every call you made, every time you took care of something without being asked. You were present for only part of theirs. In studies of shared responsibility, people often estimate their own contribution from a fuller record than the one they have for everyone else. That does not mean everybody always overclaims. Later research found that people can underclaim too, especially for activities that happen rarely. Both people are estimating from incomplete information, but both people can be biased. Does not mean the workload is therefore equal. Uncertainty about the measurement is not proof of balance. Put the pieces together and the blind spot makes sense. His threshold has not been reached, so there's no internal alarm. The planning is happening inside somebody else's head, so there's little visible evidence. His own contributions are the ones easiest for him to retrieve, and the system keeps restoring itself because another person acts before the consequences fully arrive. He experiences a life that works. The other person experiences the work that makes it work. That is why not seeing the pattern can be honest. But honesty about the blind spot is not the end of the question. It is where the second line begins. What happens after the cost is made visible? There's a large difference between, I did not realize you were carrying that. Let's map it, divide it, and make sure I own whole responsibilities rather than waiting for assignments. And you care more, so this is really your problem. There's a difference between needing a conversation and requiring a permanent supervisor. There's a difference between being less bothered by the mess and treating another person's discomfort as the mechanism that keeps your home running. Before the pattern is named, blindness may explain it. After it is named, the response tells you more. This is also where the frame needs limits. An unequal division is not automatically an immature one. Couples sometimes divide work unevenly because one person has more time, more capacity, or a skill the household needs. The important part is that the arrangement is visible, agreed, and allowed to change. Living alone changes the question too. If your dishes wait and your laundry forms a small independent nation, and nobody else is relying on you to deal with either, then the relational accusation does not fit. The consequences are still yours, but they are yours. And reduced capacity is not something a video can diagnose from a sink. Depression and other health problems can change motivation and how costly effort feels. The same unfinished task can come from very different conditions. Behavior alone does not tell us which one we are looking at. Capacity may change what a fair contribution looks like. It does not remove the need to make the transfer visible. So here's the test I would actually use. When you decide not to do something, ask, will this disappear or migrate? If it migrates, was that agreed? And if somebody tells me they're carrying it, do I help redesign the system or argue that the work cannot be real because I never noticed it? If the thing disappears, go play the game. Sleep late. Keep the weird hobby. A life does not become adult by becoming joyless. If the cost moves by agreement, that is a division of labor. If it keeps moving by default, and your freedom depends on somebody else remaining alert, that is the problem the label is trying to name. The line was never between video games and vegetables. It was between choosing your own life and quietly requiring someone else to keep it running.